Hey people on the internet, this is Paul here, and I am messing with Blender. Should be Blender 2.69. I'm using the latest stable for this just because I'm just going to mess with physics and I don't feel like having a crash. So. Shouldn't crash anyways, even with experimental builds, but you never know. So, I am going to turn this cube into a scoop, I guess. And I'm going to mess with physics. I want to build a conveyor that moves a ball up to a ramp, and then the ball feeds back to the conveyor. So I'm going to build a system with the physics simulation to do that. Right now we gotta model our stuff. So this ball is going to be our scoop. Cause scoop as well, just to have it consistent, you know. So what we gotta do is take this in edit mode. And I'm going to push Control Tab to bring up this little menu here, select faces, hit A for all. I'm so used to Wings 3D I end up hitting the spacebar sometimes, just so people know. But you can also, you hit A for all to select all or deselect all. But out of habit. I'm out a lot faster in Wings, so just trying to learn the Blender steps. But right now I am going to delete these faces. You can hit delete or X. Yeah, X isn't a plane hotkey in this, it's delete. You gotta do another action to get X for the plane. Or axis, or whatever you want to call it. So right now I took off two of those faces. And I gotta go back to object mode so I can apply a modifier, which is this little wrench here. Go there and go to, where's this? Solidify. Right there above subdivision. And I'm going to give this thing some thickness. And I want even thickness. There. Like so. And this is going to be my scoop to pick up the ball that I'm going to make. So. And that's a lot easier than trying to edit in mesh mode to get this kind of shape. It's just take off two faces, solidify it, and boom, you got a mesh here. But I got to apply it. So apply. Go back to edit mode. This is nice, but I might want to smooth this a little bit, so I'm going to hit, am I in face mode? Yes, I'm in face mode. So you go near an edge that has a ring going in a general direction you want, you hold down Alt and click, and it selects a face ring that corresponds to that edge ring. I for intrude, and like that. And it gives me some control loops. Alt for another ring, and I, same thing again. And I'll probably want one along that. Hit I to intrude. Hit again. Where's the inset? Yeah, inset, not intrude, but it can be an intrude, I think. Alright, never mind. But now we get out of edit mode, object mode, and we can add a modifier, subdivision surface, and as you can see, it looks halfway decent, so yeah, that's good. That'll give us a nice little scoop. I'm going to apply it, and I'll make it smooth shaded there. So we got a little mesh for a scoop. Just to make sure it is all good, I'm going to hit Control A, which will bring up applying rotation and scale. That way I know scale and rotation. It won't do anything weird, goofy. So that's our scoop. Alright. Now, in addition to the scoop, we need a bucket. So I'm going to make another cube to start out with. And rename it bucket there, and rename it bucket here. There, that's our bucket. I'm going to scale on the y-axis. Some other programs use Z for forward and back, but Blender uses Y, just so you know. Why it uses Y, I don't know why. The scale on the X. Scale is an obvious hotkey. When you're thinking move, don't think move, think grab. That'll help you remember your hotkeys for Blender. So S for Z, which is up and down. Alright. So if you want to grab, you grab. If you try to do move, it'll do something else. I'm not sure what that hotkey's for. Just so you know, it's funny. Alright. And I think that's big enough to be our tub. But now we gotta edit that. Or bucket, I guess. Tub bucket. Back to that face. And face. Set face, I guess that works fine. And right there. Oh wait, I want to extrude down actually, so E for extrude. Here we go. And we got ourselves a bucket that the scoop goes into. Oh wait, I can't select the scoop just yet because you're two separate objects. Yeah, never mind, but it's good for reference. And if I hit Z, I can see through it. There, so. It's another thing, sometimes the context of what Z is, you gotta make sure you're in a move or scale operation, otherwise it does something completely different. You gotta watch out for that, alright. But it's good. Once you remember the hotkey, you're okay, I think. Hit Z again to turn that off. Remember, I'm not moving, I just using Z to change how I view the item. It's wireframe. Okay, what else do we want to do with our bucket here? I want to select this face, and this face, and all these faces are on the edge. Scale them out a bit. There. And that gives us a bucket to collect our ball in. And one more thing before I'm done is hit Control Tab again to get this whole menu. Go edge. And I want to select that edge, and I want to scale it down. Because what I want it to do is when the ball goes in here, I want it to collect where the bucket can scoop it up. To do that, we just move it down. Like so. So the ball goes in, but does the ball go down? I'm not sure. But I'll select this edge and slide it up a bit. That way we know the ball will go down. And like I did before, the faces here is select the face ring again and inset it. And now your face ring inset. Yeah. Hope I'm not going too fast for you. A lot of this is like similar to wings. But a lot of it's different enough that sometimes I stumble. So, but I do know how to 3D model it, even though I am still. I'm probably about a month into using Blender. It's good enough though, I think. There's probably some hotkeys down here, but I can't read the darn things. Boundary, or what is it? Outset. See, it goes off the pane down there. Yikes. That's not it. Boundary. Alright. Hold on, I'm going to cancel that. Because I can't see the window, I'm going to have to drag this over. Alright. And set. Boundary on. I'm trying to see if the inset will go along edges, or average. If you look at that panel above the timeline, that's what I'm looking at. Yep, that's not what I want. What's that? If I were to invert my selection, I could probably do it. Oh, what's the trick to invert select? then I'm going to try and set that boundary outset. Yeah, that's what it is. Nope, still does the same thing. Well, I'm not going to try it that way anymore. I'm going to try something different, I guess. Loop cut and slide. That works the way I want it. See, in Wings, I knew I could do that other trick, and I could change the way the loop wraps, but apparently Blender doesn't have that option for inset, so I'll just use loop cut and slide. Where is it? Down there, like so. So now I got a fairly decent bucket. And I'll drag this stuff back over here so I can see it. That's good enough. And so I got my bucket now. Go to object mode. And I'll probably want to do a smooth on this too. Subdivision surface. And here's our bucket. Looks pretty nice. And for sake of having things to collide with, I'm going to apply it so it has actual vertices. Because for simulation, it's always good to have that. Alright, so make that smooth. There. Now it looks nice. And I hope everybody hears me okay. So we got our bucket and we got our scoop. Okay. And what else do I need to do? Let's make sure we have some kind of material applied. This could look a lot better, but I'm doing something quick. Actually, let's make that yellow. Yeah, bright primary colors. And we want to move our bucket a little bit, like so. Move it up. And now you see it lines up with the scoop, kind of, sort of. And if I hold down a shift while using the middle mouse button, I can pan my view over a little bit. So now we got our bucket and this. So I'm going to hit Control A, apply rotation of the scale, just to make sure it's all good. Same with it. So now these should be to a scale of 1. Rotation should all be zeroed out. So what do we want next? We want our ball. Now for our ball, I am going to do something a little different. I am going to start with a cube. And there's a reason why I'm going to start with the cube. Is because I want a fairly even vertex density. So we'll just here I'll show. First I'm going to start with a subdivision surface, and it's just going to be like that. And as you can see, the cube is already rounded out, and I'm also going to add a modifier which is called cast, and this lets me spherify the cube even more. So change the factor to 1, and then I will apply both of these. And as you can see, if I go to edit mode and vertices, it has vertices evenly spaced out. And I think this layout works better for collisions than a UV sphere. So I just call it a cubic sphere, I guess. I don't know. I'm sure there's some kind of name for that topology, but I don't know it offhand. But I'm just going to call it ball. But it's like if you think of how a volleyball is wrapped together, it's kind of like similar to that. But yeah, it's a ball. So, and object mode. And for the ball, make the ball bright red. Yay! It's like some bright primary colors. There. And obviously the ball is a bit large to fit in the scoop. I'm going to scale it down just a bit. Make sure it fits. A little bit smaller. Want a little bit of wiggle room, that should be good. And what I'm going to do is bring it up here. There. Hit Control A to apply a rotation scale, because it gets weird if you don't. Alright, so now what do we need to do? We want to make a physics simulation. So, got our starting elements together for this physics simulation. And you know what? I'm going to move everything over a little bit, just so it lines up with our grid. A little bit like that. Here. Now, let's see. Under world properties, scroll down here, I believe. It's not down here. No. Scene properties, not world properties. Yes, scene. Okay. And click Add Rigid Body Worlds. Turn that on. And I'm not sure what that is about. Split impulse. There's so many options. I'm still new at this. Alright. So we're good there. Alright, so select the bucket. And turn on Rigid Body. Now, if you try to run into this right now, it's going to fall out on you. So we don't want that. So we turn that to passive. And you don't really need to check animated because this thing isn't moving anywhere. Well, I heard sometimes collisions can be weird, so if you get weird collision problems or something, just keyframe the first position of it and check animated. But you don't really need to do that unless you get the weirdness. This is also going to be a rigid body, so click on that. And let's see, not rigid body constraint, rigid body. Oops. I messed up. And this can actually be passive. But we're going to put that on something to animate it, so it will be animated. And then here's our ball. Click rigid body there. And it's going to be active. And I'm just going to leave the stuff alone right now. And now let's kick our frames up, go back down right below the timeline, and dollar frames up. I'm going to say 500 even. That should be good for now. And okay, so what do we need to do? We need to go back to our scene, I believe. Under rigid bodies, and expand rigid body cache. Because if you get past the frames here, it's going to stop the simulation. So same as we did with our timeline here, down here, we got to move this, make this 500 as well. That way our simulation goes all the way to the end. Some people will be like, why is my simulation stopping? Yeah. That's why. Alright. I know I ran into it myself before. So now we got our simulation. The ball is not colliding with the bucket properly. You notice that? Or if the ball was in the bucket, it would spring out. The reason why it's doing that is because we gotta change stuff. So, let's go to physics for the bucket. And right now it says convex hull. It's okay, but this is actually concave. want stuff to go in. And convex is just mapped to like the bounding box kinda. So if I were to view this bucket as a bounding box, I believe there's a bounds. See, watch this. We'll go to bounds. Like that. That's what it's colliding with. Sorta. Kinda sorta. So we'll go back to textured. And back to physics for the bucket. And box is bounds, but we want to change this to mesh. Mesh! Alright. By changing that to mesh. Yeah. And our ball is kind of rolling. Still want to make it better. It's a convex hole, which is okay. But we can also change it to sphere. Which probably will roll better, or we can change it to mesh. Let's see which works better. That works pretty good. Sphere might be ideal for this, I'm not sure. So, might simplify the calculation. That works pretty good actually. So I'll use sphere for the sphere. And want to make this slightly bouncy. Because if something hits something, it'll bounce. And in this, we want a bit more bouncy, but not too bouncy. I know, you're like, what are you doing, Paul? Alright, so here you go. Get it to bounce a little bit more. I want to dial this one up. So it feels a little bit more. Yeah, that's a little bit better. And I will probably dial the mass of the ball down a little bit. It still doesn't bounce much. You know what it might be is friction. I think it calculates air friction in that, so I'm going to dial that way down. It's not just surface friction, I think there's air friction in here too. Let's see. Yeah, it falls faster. I think that's it. And I believe there is some kind of damping in here. Ah, yeah, damping. So let's turn that down even lower. Alright. It's not too bad. Haha, friction is too low on that. It does need friction. Yeah, a lot of this physics stuff, you gotta adjust it. Bum, 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 bum. I'm just wondering why the ball keeps spinning when it's not against this thing. I don't know. Test again. That looks reasonable. I'm gonna make the ball more bouncy still. There, that's good. And now I'll show you how the scoop works. Okay, I'm not going to be too fancy with this. So we'll move our scoop and have it selected, so what I can do is just grab it as soon as the ball goes into it. Oh, you know what? I gotta do the same thing with the scoop I did with the bucket. Just change this to mesh. And now we should be good. Boom, 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 and it's in there. Whee! Where did the ball go? Yeah. You gotta be real touchy with the balancing it, because like if you move it manually, it has a ridiculous amount of force. Will send the ball flying. And if all else fails, you can stop and go to the very beginning where your ball is originally placed. The ball goes flying and you decide to move it, and it's not keyframed, it will go wherever you moved it last. So make sure you have it somewhere good at the start, and you can always go back to the start just by hitting that button. So, and it goes in the bucket, and the bucket's ready for the conveyor. And as you can see, we got our elements for the conveyor belt. And I think I'll break this down into a two-parter here, so look for part 2 on this, and we'll make a conveyor belt using the bucket, and I'll probably add a slide so it just cycles around closed loop system. Alright, catch you later.